Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Just got a few buttons to press. Bear with me 1 second. I want to say good morning to Mark Whiting, who was hot off the mark this morning. Chris Ford is here as well, saying good morning, you lucky people. Not too sure what's lucky about today. And Footy's here as well. Morning, Footy. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Wasn't it cold this weekend? Oh, dear, wasn't it cold? I largely avoided going out on Saturday entirely because it was so bloody cold out. Couldn't avoid it on Sunday. Took me about 10 minutes to scrape the car off before I went out, and it was early when we went out on Sunday morning. Came back in the house, went back out, frozen again. Yeah, really was that bad. Friedrich Victor 26 over on Instagram says, "What's up, guys? What's up with you?" It's all very, very good here. Friedrich Victor 26, good of you to join us. Thank you very much indeed. Where are you watching from? Love to hear from you. Somebody on Instagram goes by the name of Deep Fried Tampons. Yeah. Friedrich Victor, what is this stream about? It's about demolition and construction equipment. So unless you're really, really into that kind of thing, I would duck out now because you're going to be very bored. But he's over, as the name probably suggested, Friedrich Victor is in Germany. Guten Tag? Guten Tag, possibly? I don't know if that's German or Dutch, but good morning. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Yes, so today, future fuels. Yes. Did a bit of work over the weekend. Do a bit of work every weekend, to be perfectly honest with you. Cut a long story short, we've launched a new newsletter. Simple as that. It is called Future Fuels. It is based entirely on LinkedIn, and it is about electric and hydrogen machines, which are obviously coming down the line. Ken Diggerman is over on Instagram as well. He says good morning. He's chilly as well. And Friedrich Victor has just followed us. Thank you very much indeed. You clearly are interested in this kind of stuff. Footy has just said, can I ask you something after the show on your WhatsApp? Far away. Always, the door is always open on that. And Jim Turner, modular Jim Turner has just arrived. We do need to press Jim's button because, well, that's what we do. Morning, Jim. Good of you to join us. I bet it's cold up your part. It's Guten Morgen. My apologies. Guten Morgen. Yes, I was getting my German and my Dutch mixed up. Apparently, issues with Facebook. It's okay on mine, but funnily enough, we had a look last week, and apparently it seems like some of the shows are there, and then some of them are there, and then they go away. Don't know what that's all about. And Garvin has just joined us over on Instagram, Mostly Diggers. If you're not following Mostly Diggers already, you really should. You really should. Takes a damn fine photograph, the fella. Right, enough of all of this stuff and nonsense. Should we crack on? I think we probably should. It is time to roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. Now, you might have to talk amongst yourselves here for just a second because apparently the mystery machine hasn't loaded properly. I'm just trying to load it again. It's okay. It's coming up the line there as well. Thanks, Mark. Morning all, says our friend over on, it's Garvin over on Mostly Diggers on Instagram. Friedrich Victor, who's becoming very active. I like that. He says, let's get started. And he's already answered our question of the day. I'll come back to that in just a moment. But first, we do need to, well, we'll get to the mystery machine in a second. It is Monday. It is definitely Monday, the 13th of January. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition. In today's show, we're rocking and rolling with Terramac. You want value? Well, Caterpillar has a tool for that. And when the world's strongest crane met a high-speed drone. Plus, we're going to be taking another look forward to Bauma, which is now rapidly approaching. Plus, in my modelling monologue today, we're going to be focusing on all those little work tasks that you do, and you often do willingly, but for which you receive zero payment. Yeah. Sorry, Instagram's gone mental this morning. Before we get to that, we got the small matter of today's mystery machine, which looks a bit like, well, I'll show you in a sec. Yeah, Ken Hatter has just said, tell him to go. Oh no, Footy has just said, tell Ken to go on Diggers and Dozers. I think he normally does actually. Apparently, the Diggers and Dozers feed is fine. Maybe the Demolition News one is stuttering a bit. I honestly don't know. But Mystery Machine time. We've got a real mixed bag this month so far. Gary Muirhead won the first day. I won the second. Steve Williamson won the third. Gary won again on the fourth, and then Chris Ford rounded off last week by correctly identifying the JCB 427. Who's going to emerge victorious today? Let's have a look. There we are. This is the machine that you need to identify. If you've got any idea what that is, I am looking, as always, for a make and a model. A make and a model. If you can figure out what that is, obviously we'll show you a little bit more in just a moment. And Ken Hatter has conquered Facebook. Got you now, he says. I don't know what's going on with Facebook. I really don't. It's beyond my control, I'm afraid. But or beyond my ken, should I say? You get the idea. Anyway, that's the Mystery Machine. While you're figuring that out, I am going to quickly remind you of our question of the day before we actually get things rolling. Question of the day looks like this. Yeah, our question of the day today is, do you have a favourite cheese? Now, we may have run this question before, and if we did, there's every likelihood that I would have stated my preference for Stilton. Still a big lover of Stilton. However, over the past few days, I've had my mind blown and changed simultaneously. I've eaten about 15 kilos, that's a slight exaggeration, about 15 kilos of Gorgonzola, and it is my new favourite. I mean, I'd had it before, and maybe this is just an exceptionally good batch, but man alive, Gorgonzola, that is some fine cheese. But what about you? Do you have a favourite cheese? That's what I would like to know. Somebody is babbling on about buying property in Egypt. Got to be honest, don't care. So yes, that is the question of the day. What is your favourite cheese? Let me show you a little bit more. There's the Mystery Machine. Make a model, if you would be so kind. And it is time to crack right on. It is time for the news, isn't it? Let me press that button and get that bit started. The owner of Tony Demolition Workers, Arben Heiser, allegedly paid bribes to construction site managers, including those working on the Battersea Power Station redevelopment, to secure subcontracting deals for his staff, a court heard last week. Prosecutor Paul Ozin KC told Southwark Crown Court that Heiser funneled regular payments to three managers from Keltbray Limited to ensure his agency received preferential treatment. The £600,000 bribery trail revealed that these kickbacks allegedly allowed Heiser's agency to dominate the labour supply for Keltbray's projects, with invoices totalling over £15 million during the decade. Paul Ozin describes the bribes as providing Heiser with a valuable benefit, ensuring his workers were consistently chosen over competitors. The trial continues. And the Competition and Markets Authority is extending its investigation into potential competition law breaches by 7 major house builders. The probe, which began last February, followed evidence suggesting that some builders may have shared commercially sensitive information with competitors. Initially set to conclude in December last year, the investigation will now continue until May 2025 to allow for further evidence gathering and analysis. The CMA emphasised that it has not yet determined whether there's enough evidence to issue formal objections to any party under investigation. Those firms under investigation are Barrett Redrow, Bellway, the Barclay Group, Bloor Homes Limited, Persimmon, Taylor Wimpey and Vistry. So we've got a guy over on Instagram who is babbling on about something or other here, and he's just said, stop your yapping. This is what I do for a living. Yapping is what I do. If you don't like it, off you go. Don't care. Yes. Not even going to get involved in it. Just nonsense. We've got a question of the day answer here. Ken Hatcher, his preferences for cheddar cheese. Can't go wrong with a bit of cheddar, but I'm certainly more of a fan of Gorgonzola these days. Yes, just going back very quickly on to the 2 points on the construction news point there. That we actually broke that story on Kelpray on Friday night. So if you'd like to go and have a look at that, you can see it over on demolitionnews.com right now. I think it's the lead story or thereabouts. Go and take a look at that. Obviously, this is not just a one-off involving Kelpray. Obviously, they were one of the leads. In fact, I think they ended up with the biggest fine as a result of the CMA investigation into the demolition industry. Well, it concluded 2 years ago, but the fines, they had their fine increase from 16 million to 18 million just before Christmas. So yeah, not looking good for Kelpray and stuff. But speaking of the CMA, again, CMA is now having a very, very good look into all things related to the house building sector. 7 of the biggest names in the construction industry are now under investigation. Whether they will actually go forward with that, it remains to be seen, but we shall see. We shall see. But yes, some very big names. And somebody actually asked over on Instagram, or not on Instagram, rather on LinkedIn this morning, how will that impact upon Keir Starmer's plans for 1.5 million new homes? I don't think it will impact at all, purely because if you look at the way that things worked out with the demolition industry, it made no difference at all. In actual fact, most of the companies that were found guilty have been absolutely thriving ever since. Jim Turner says, question of the day, extremely tough question. It's a toss-up between Stilton rind and red Leicester, but proper red Leicester, not the mass-produced shite. The type that comes with a thick rind on. Do you know, I don't think I've ever actually had that. I don't think I've ever had that. And Jim Turner says, tell him to go away, although he says it in Jim's very, very specific vernacular. Question of the day, Wensleydale with cranberries or a strong cheddar? Or Wensleydale grommet. I don't know this guy over on Instagram. Help me, sir, help me. Do you support Nazis? No, I don't. I don't know what you want me to do, but unless you put it in writing, there's nothing I can do for you. So it might be best if you just go on your way. Go on your way. Let's have a look. Yeah, we've got our first film of the day coming up in just a second, and it's from a very nice location, and it's a very nice machine as well. Back after this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Yeah, not a name I'm particularly familiar with, Terramac, but apparently they make track carriers, and they make some very nice track carriers, as you're about to see. But they also put them in some really, really spectacular locations. Take a look.
We do a lot of marine construction, which involves breakwater work, dredging, beach renourishment, wetlands mitigation, up and down the coast of Texas and Louisiana. This project is a series of 6 breakwaters. It's an extension of 2 that were already here, and it's mainly for shoreline protection here at Indian Point, and also enhances the wildlife area, and probably in the range of 8,000 to 9,000 tons of limestone rock that we're using. It's a one-way path, so we're looking for something that could go a little faster, more durable, and haul more material, more rock at the same time. I knew about the Terramacs before, so we had the idea of, hey, let's get them over here, try the rotating bed. They're working really great. They have increased our production, 5 times more than a wheel loader would, easily. And we can haul 6 to 8 tons per load, which, a wheel loader can, in a bucket, 2 to 3 at the most. Really, it's the durability, it's the ease on the operators. The rotating bed is simple, it's very quick, it's efficient, they're easy to load, so it's really helped our production. And this is a very, obviously, rough terrain, very easy to operate. The controls are user-friendly. It's got 2 controls for drive and turn, and flexibility as far as what angle you want to turn the dump bed. I've operated similar machines before. This one, I would put it in terms it's more of a Cadillac. I mean, in our opinion, we call them the Cadillacs. This was far beyond what we hoped for, so it's been very useful. Just appreciate, Terramac's and Viral Services support on everything. It's been really good. The machines have been extremely helpful. We are looking forward to using them again on other projects.
As Jim Turner rightly says, perfect job for those type of machines. Absolutely right. And our friend over on Instagram, what is that? Or Instagram, should I say? What is that vehicle? That right there is a Terramac tracked carrier. As I say, not a name I'm particularly familiar with. I'm sure I may well have seen them over at Con Expo in the past. I've not paid too much attention to them. But yeah, Dan Cullen's finally joined us. Our coverage not great here as in a valley, but he's here. So it is time to show a little bit more of our mystery machine, which looks like that. There you are. If you've got anything on that, would love to know if you've got a make and a model. The lunatic over on Instagram, how's the fire in LA, sir? Please answer. I don't know. I've not checked today. My guess is probably not good. Chris Ford says, wonder how long the slew rings last on those things. Bet they're a bastard to change. Yeah, I bet they are. Although I guess you can hoik a skip off maybe a little bit easier than you can take it off of or take the upper structure off an excavator. I'm saying that having never done either of them, but my guess is it's probably a little bit easier. Anybody's got any clues on the mystery machine? Please let me know. We'll be back with a bit more. We're going with Caterpillar in a second. Yeah, looks a tidy dumper, says Dan, the man Cullen. Yes, Caterpillar. If you were here last week, you know we spent quite a bit of time talking about balancing the. We were speaking specifically about the environmental value of new versus old equipment. Obviously, there is a financial gain to be had there as well. Well, I actually asked, I wonder how you go about juggling the new versus the old. But it turns out Caterpillar have actually invented a tool for it, as you're about to see.
When it comes to your business, your work is hard. Crunching the numbers to grow your business is even harder. You need the numbers to run hourly cost and life cycle cost analyses. The numbers that would tell you whether to buy new or rebuild. The numbers that could help you reduce fuel burn and CO2, optimize your fleet, or even adjust your job site to make your work more efficient. Enter VST, the value simulation tool that starts with your data, leverages Caterpillar expertise, and presents you with recommendations in easy-to-read, shareable reports. VST gives you confidence to make solid decisions based on your real-world numbers that will help you build your business. If you're an owner-operator, shop foreman, fleet manager, or anyone who wants to run their business better, contact your local CAT dealer and see what VST can do for you.
I'd love to get my hands on that just to do the maths. I think that would be an interesting set of maths to run. Caterpillar, if you're watching, please, how do I get a copy of that and actually do a like-for-like comparison, new versus old? Love to hear from you. Here we are. There is a mystery machine. Still no correct. In fact, I'm not entirely sure. Have we had any guesses at all? Not yet, as far as I can see. So there's a little bit more. Anybody got any ideas what that might be? Make and a model, if you would be so kind. I think the comments are working. Can't be absolutely sure. If anybody's got any idea what that might be, please let me know. Let me take that away for just a moment because we are cracking right on. I've got an absolutely spectacular bit of film coming up for you in just a second. So stick around.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Every time I say we don't feature cranes here, I then go along and feature cranes. We don't feature cranes here because I don't understand them. What I do understand is a good film, one that looks like this.
passengers, this is your captain speaking. On behalf of our crew, I welcome you aboard this exclusive flight through the world's strongest land-based crane, the SK6000. Approximate flight time is 2 minutes. It's perfect weather for flying out there today with clear skies and calm conditions. Though we expect little to no turbulence, your seatbelts must be fastened at all times. Thank you for choosing Mammoth.
Now, you're currently looking at somebody that can't actually fly a drone between two buildings. The skill it takes to do what they just did is unbelievable. Yeah, astonishing film. Let's have a look. We've got a couple of guesses here, I think. Jim Turner reckons it could be the Larini track dumper. You've got the right machine, you've got the wrong make. Chris Ford going for the same sort of thing. Says mystery machine could be a Maruka MST 1000 VDR. Again, right machine, wrong make. Our friend Mick has just joined us. Morning, Mick. Morning, all sitting in St. Bart's waiting for the all clear. The hound is at home snoring. Fingers are crossed. Fingers are crossed for you, sir. Dan Cullen's going for the NTD 6000 track dumper. It's not one of those, and it's not an MST 2200 VDR. It's not an MST. It's not a Maruka at all. Now, you're quite lucky today, actually, because we've got a bit more to show you, in addition to which we've actually got an additional film today as well. So there's a bit more of the machine. I will be right back after a bit of this. Yeah, let me take that out of the way. Yes, it is. Well, we're on the countdown to all things Bauma related. It is our mission to Munich. Bauma itself has got a couple of key themes for this year's exhibition. We've already done digitisation. The other one of the key tentpoles that they are looking at is sustainability. We've got a film about it. Looks like this.
As the construction industry remains one of the largest consumers of resources and producers of greenhouse gases, the need for sustainable practices will become more critical than ever. Bauma 2025, the world's leading trade fair for construction equipment and mining machines, will showcase groundbreaking approaches reshaping the industry toward a more sustainable future. Resource conservation will be a cornerstone of sustainable construction. Serial construction, for example, will utilize prefabrication in controlled industrial environments, enabling efficient resource use, reduced material waste, and precise quantity calculations. This method will not only minimize waste, but also facilitate the recycling of production scraps and the ease of dismantling buildings at the end of their life cycle for material reuse. Innovations in 3D printing will further propel sustainability. The use of recycled materials in additive manufacturing will be explored, with research focusing on bio-based materials for construction. These advancements promise a future where building components will be both sustainable and efficient. Decarbonization will be another critical focus. Bauma 2025 will dedicate a key segment to low-emission alternative drives for mobile construction machinery. Electric solutions will reduce exhaust emissions while also lowering noise pollution, benefiting workers and local communities alike. Sustainable construction will extend beyond environmental considerations to address social aspects. Reducing construction site noise will remain a priority for protecting the health of both workers and local residents. Municipalities around the world, including Munich, London, Paris, and Zurich, will be promoting quieter construction machinery through guidelines, regulations, and subsidies. Electric machines, particularly quiet and free from harmful exhaust emissions, will be featured as pivotal solutions. Worker safety and ergonomics will also be a key theme. Bauma 2025 will present innovations designed to improve on-site safety and working conditions. These will include ergonomic and intuitive controls, vibration damping technologies, driver assistance systems, telematics, and overload indicator systems, all aimed at enhancing the well-being and efficiency of construction professionals. The commitment to sustainable construction will be evident in the industry's move toward a circular economy. By focusing on the entire life cycle of buildings, from design and construction to demolition and material reuse, the industry will aim to minimize waste and environmental impact. Sensitive demolition processes and upcycling machines will be showcased to address construction waste challenges and demonstrate how they can be overcome. Bauma 2025 will serve as a global platform to explore these advancements, offering insights into a more efficient, transparent, and sustainable future for construction. Join us in Munich from April 7th to 13th, 2025, and become part of the transformation towards sustainable construction.
Yeah, another couple of months and I will be there, right there. We're on the Liebherr stand. I can tell you we do not have a winner of our mystery machine today. That is what we've got. We've got lots of guesses, all related to Maruka. It's none of those. It's not a Prinoth either, although it's a good guess. And Chris Ford, it's not a Shandong 4010 HK either. I can tell you, I can exclusively reveal that our mystery machine is actually a Bell. I realise you're used to seeing bells on wheels. They also do them on tracks as well. That's a Bell TC11A. So 3 points to me, I believe. Yes, I'm back at the top of the leaderboard. Me and Gary Muirhead sharing first place. There you are. Thank you very much indeed for that. Speaking of Gary Muirhead, he's just arrived. Just arrived in time for our morning monologue, which, incidentally, Gary and Nigel Williams both helped me with. I'll come back to that in just a moment. Dan Cullen go for the Terramac. Bit too late, I'm afraid. It is a Bell. But yes, that pretty much rounds up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat. If you can't stick around for that, then please do stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. And I hope to see you again very soon. If you do have the time, however, I will be back immediately after this. Before I actually press this button, I do need to address this from Jim Turner. Says, with electronic eyes and screens, there can't be much. It can't be automatically picked as things come to an end of their life. Whether that's a building, vehicle, computer, or phones, just needs implementing. Yes, it does. It does. And there's some very clever systems as well, not just electronic eyes, but things like flotation tanks that bring things like for example, timber residue rises to the top, everything else doesn't. So you get the idea. Chris Ford didn't ring a bell with me. Well done. I see what you did there, Chris. Yes, it's morning monologue time. And it, as I say, had some assistance on this. Back after this. It all starts innocently enough. The site supervisor says, is there any chance you could get in early tomorrow and unlock the gates? You agree. You're a team player and hey, you're an early riser anyway. A few days later, the site supervisor says he's been summoned to a management meeting. Can you stay a bit late and lock up? Of course you can. You're old school. When work is over, you always hang on for a few more minutes, making sure your machine is properly parked and ready for work the following day. The following day, you see that same site supervisor heading for his car at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. One of your colleagues hands you the gate keys and says, you're taking care of the lockup again. Would have been nice to have been asked, you think, but you lock up regardless. And that is how responsibility creep begins. You came up through the ranks and you were taught by an industry veteran. Although it's not in your job description, you regularly maintain your machine and you even carry out minor repairs. The younger operators look up to you. In fact, they rely upon you to maintain their machines as well because, you're better at it. Somewhere along the line, you became the grease guy for the entire site. In fact, you're not just the guy that applies the grease and the oil, you're expected to maintain the stock of lubricants and machine consumables for the entire site. You're also the guy with the first aid kit in the cab of your machine. Anyone with a cut or a graze comes to you. Those that arrive with a headache or a hangover rely on your ready supply of paracetamol. So when the company decides it needs an official first aider, your name is top of the list. There's no extra money in it for you, of course, but you were doing the job anyway. Besides, you're quite proud to be the go-to guy for the site's medical issues. And so when your company grudgingly climbs aboard the mental health awareness bandwagon, you're the ideal choice as a mental health first aider. You're already taking care of the physical health of your co-workers, so why not take care of their mental health as well? Your fellow operators, particularly the younger ones, admire and respect you. So when a rookie operator arrives for his first day, you are the de facto mentor and tutor, all rolled into one. You show them how to get the best out of their machine, how to care for their machine, and you show them the ropes. Again, there's no financial compensation, but you're seen as a veteran and you're keen to pass on your knowledge, the knowledge that you've gained throughout your career. And besides, you quite like the rookie operator. You quite like the rookie operator. He reminds you of yourself when you were still green. As the weeks and months pass, you notice you're seeing the site supervisor or the site foreman less and less frequently. The light's on in the site office, and on the colder days, you can see steam rising from it. But they rarely, if ever, walk the site. The day-to-day running of the project has been silently passed to you, and because you see each new project as your baby, you've absorbed that responsibility too. Now your machine is due for replacement. It's a shame because you've really grown to love the machine, but you're excited at the prospect of a shiny new replacement. What do you think we should get? Your boss asks. I don't know, let me do some homework, you reply. In truth, there's very little homework to do. You love your job. And when you're not in a machine, you're reading about them in trade magazines and online. You attend equipment exhibitions in your own time and at your own cost. Your finger is constantly on the industry pulse. So you make your recommendation before ultimately compromising because your boss has got a better deal elsewhere. Your machine arrives, factory fresh. It has all the features you've come to expect, but what's this? While your previous machine had a bucket slung from its dipper, this one has a tilt rotator. You've never used a tilt rotator before. You've always managed perfectly well without it. Frankly, you're a little bit insulted that anyone thinks you might need a tilt rotator. But that night after your dinner, you're glued to YouTube, teaching yourself how to operate this new piece of kit. With all your years' experience, you're a fast learner. Pretty soon, you can no longer imagine working without a tilt rotator. It's become an extension of you, a vital tool. And so when you're told that your machine is about to be fitted with a fancy new GPS system, you don't see it as an imposition. You see it as an opportunity to be even more productive than you already are. You're right, of course, it does make you more productive, but it also makes you directly responsible for ensuring that all excavation work complies with the plans sent to your machine wirelessly while you're not looking. As you now have all that information at your fingertips, you're regularly quizzed by the client over productivity levels and operational accuracy. In fact, you're now taking calls from the client and from your head office on an almost hourly basis. They could and probably should call the site supervisor, but he's busy with paperwork or he's left early again. And besides, you're right there at the coalface. You don't even need to leave your cab. You can see precisely what's going on via one of the many screens with which you now share your cab. And that's how it gets you. You were employed as an excavator operator. You have a bit of plastic that says as much. If anyone asks you what you do for a living, you tell them proudly, I'm a machine operator. But are you? Are you really? The truth is that with the passage of time and with the creep of additional responsibility, you've become site security, a fitter, a stock controller, a nursemaid and an agony uncle, a machine specifier and tester, de facto project supervisor and client liaison. Yeah, when you look at your paycheck, it still clearly describes you as a machine operator, and that is reflected in how much you're paid. Your role and your responsibilities have expanded exponentially, and yet your wages have remained strangely static. It's almost as if that was the plan all along. Now, a couple of things. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the input from both Gary Muirhead and Nigel Williams. They helped me with the writing of that. because I wanted to make sure I was coming from the right place on it. Secondly, in addition to preparing this here, I posted a poll over on LinkedIn asking how many people had gradually taken on more and more unpaid responsibility over the years. 96%. 96% of those that responded said they had. Now, obviously, I've written this from an angle of, what is it that you're doing that you're not being paid for? But it does run deeper than that. First of all, can you be genuinely productive as an equipment operator if you're doing all of those other tasks at the same time? And secondly, just how safe are you when you're constantly worrying about one or more of these additional jobs, or when your phone is constantly ringing? We bang on about the fact that mobile phones really don't have a place on a construction site or a demolition site, and yet because you've got the information on the project right there on a screen in front of you, you're taking phone calls all the time. Must be like spinning 40 plates at once. That's my thought for the day. Let me have your thoughts. Had a couple of comments here. What we got? Dan Cullen says, coverage is so shit I can't get proper success in watching it. Watch it on catch up would be my suggestion. And he's also guessed that our mystery machine was a Cat 438B. It's definitely not one of those. So yes, that was my thought. As I say, I posted. I was hoping to get the final results from the poll over on LinkedIn before the show started, but I accidentally set it to run for a week. Which is a stupid thing to do. But yes, it currently stands at 96% of people, 96% of respondents reckon that they have taken on more responsibility for which they are not being paid. Does that ring true with anyone here? While you're thinking about that, let me tell you a very quick tale. Some years ago, probably best part of 10 years ago, I'd already started my conversion into all things video. I'd bought myself a little tiny video camera, which was terrible, but I was the only one doing it. So in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. I had the one-eyed camera, so I was leading the way. Anywho, one of the rival magazines decided, we don't like the fact that this guy has stolen a march. We'll go and get our editor a video camera. We're out on a job, and I was sat next to him, and he's a perfectly decent fella. And he said, you filming again? I said, yeah. He said, yeah, they've given me a video camera. I said, oh, yeah, where is it? He said, no, I've refused to use it. You've refused to use it? He said, well, they pay me to attend events, go to sites, research, and write articles. They then expected me, in my own time, to go away and learn how to drive a video camera and to edit video and how to upload video, but they didn't want to pay me any more money. So I said to them, no, you pay me additional for doing this video editing bit, and you can count me in. As far as I'm aware, the resulting, or the video camera they bought him never actually came out of the box. He refused to use it. They refused to pay him any more money, and that is precisely where it stayed. Have you had any of that? I'd love to hear from you. We've had I don't even know what that all means. Not a clue. Don't know what that means at all. So, have you taken on any new roles and responsibilities? And I do wonder about things like the first aider thing. I remember my dad going through a first aider, and as it turns out, it would be stretching a point to say that as a result of doing a first aid course, he saved my life. But he kind of did. I had an asthma attack, first ever asthma attack of my life when I was 18 years old. And he literally just done a first aid course, and he almost did like the Heimlich maneuver. He had his fist in my diaphragm and was helping me to breathe while the ambulance arrived. They carted me off. As I say, I'm probably stretching a point to say he saved my life. But going back to that, I actually said to him, first aider, fantastic. He said, yeah, they don't pay me anymore. I'm expected to administer first aid to a bunch of about 15 people. Don't pay me anymore. Jim Turner says, nothing wrong with any of that as long as you're paid the wage you're happy with, or the job has the perks that make you happy. If any of these additional jobs worry you, then you aren't competent to be doing them. My official title, I suppose, is plant op, but I do whatever it takes to keep the job productive, efficient, and safe. I don't see how a different title matters. I'm not concerned with a different title. But just little things, right? So obviously, Jim, we know you're very good with your hands. We know you're a very sort of practical kind of guy. I actually think it makes perfect sense for individual operators to help look after their machines. So if you're greasing them, you're carrying out minor repairs, checking filters, possibly replacing filters. Fully understand that. But what if you're surrounded by rookies, or what if you've got a couple of rookies on site and they're not doing that, and you're doing that for them? You're doing part of their job for them. And I realise it's only a minor imposition, but if your site supervisor is either so busy or he's so happy to be sat in his office with his feet up and his packet of chocolate digestions and his cup of tea that he's not walking the site, he's leaving you to run things, should you not be compensated for that? Should you not? And I do think the mental health awareness one, I think, is a really telling one. And I know Nigel Williams has done this. I don't think he's in the chat today, but for the greater good and possibly for your own mental well-being, you agreed to become the mental health first aider. So you go off and you do a course, and in all likelihood, I would like to think that the company that employs you pays you to do that course, and you come back with a certificate that says you are their mental health first aider. You're trained in as much as you can be, and you are now the mental health first aider. What preparation have you got for being the shoulder upon which an entire site cries? We often talk about where people are where they see an accident or an incident, or they're affected by a third party trauma. So if you've got somebody comes in and says, I've had a major falling out with a wife, she's divorcing me, she's having it off with a bloke down the road or whatever it might be, and because you're the mental health first aider, you are the go-to guy. You're the person that they bring their problems to. Now, your training has allowed you to listen and to respond in what is supposed to be the approved way. But what about the long-term effect of that? How much of that can you actually withstand before that starts to impinge upon your own mental health? If you've got 2 or 3 guys on your site who are struggling with, addiction, marital problems, financial problems, all of that heaped upon your shoulders, and then you go home at night, how do you lose that? How do you say goodbye to that? And to my mind, I don't actually believe there is enough money in it for anyone to say, yeah, I'll happily take that on. I know I couldn't, and I realise, as I've demonstrated multiple times on the show in the past, I believe I am an emotional robot. Largely dead inside. I'm blessed with a waxy pea-sized heart that takes no impact whatsoever. But if you are the sort of person that is already empathetic enough to have sat a test to become a mental health awareness person, are you actually equipped to then cope with all that is landed in your lap? I'm going to say a very quick good morning to Craic AB over in Sweden, who have just joined us. Craic AB, one of my personal favourite companies. Good morning, Craic. Last time I wanted more money and didn't get it, I went back to just being their plant operator. Took a few days for them to realise how much more I usually do. So I got what I wanted and went back to being my usual helpful self. I think that's fine. And I do, and I know you often say this, Jim. I know you talk about, you will happily up sticks and move somewhere else if you're not getting the deal that you want. But when you think about our usual workers here, I think that you and possibly Chris and certainly Ken Hatcher are all largely sort of directly employed and whatever. But you think about someone like a Dan Cullen or our friend Footy, people who are not, you're either working through an agency or that you're in a position of being picked up and put down. You don't have the option to do that. If you decide, I'm not opening the gates in the morning, I'm not closing them at night, I'm not greasing somebody else's machine, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, they'll find somebody that will. They have you over a barrel. And to be perfectly honest, one of the things that struck me about when I was writing that article, which I didn't mention, and maybe I need to revisit it, but one of the things that struck me is, obviously, we're in the midst of a skill shortage right now. It's only going to get worse. It's not going to get any better anytime soon. The default reaction of demolition and construction companies in the midst of a recession, which obviously we've already got 1.5 feet into a recession, and we're just going to take the final step. But when we are properly in recession, the biggest change that they can make immediately to cut their costs is to reduce their labour force. So if you've got a site that is currently, let's say it's 10 guys or 10 girls and guys, that might be stripped back to 8 or 7. So those responsibilities that you are currently doing over and above your wages might actually increase. Or you might find that rather than doing just your job plus all those add-ons, you're actually doing half of Dave's job because Dave has now been given the heave-ho. Dave was sent down the road when the recession first hit. So all of a sudden you find yourself doing more and more and more without actually getting any recompense. And recompense, I think, is only half of it. I think we can all agree here, and I'm thinking specifically about demolition here, but I think it applies across the board. Operating a machine, let's say an excavator, operating an excavator requires full and total concentration. You're not just operating the machine, making sure you've got a full bucket, making sure you're dumping in the right place. You're constantly scanning to make sure there's nobody nearby. You've got one eye on a screen that's telling you about the status of your machine. You've got another eye on a little display that tells you how much fuel you're using. You've got a heads-up display or something that tells you, that you're running a bit hot or whatever it might be. So you've got all of those things already going on in your head. If you are then told, and take care of this, and that, and could you manage this? And if the phone is ringing from clients, we're looking at the data here, you seem to be off on phase 6 of this. All of that is another distraction. And we talk often on this show about distractions and whether or not mobile phones belong on sites. I personally have my doubts. But you're now taking phone calls, not just from your boss, not from the site supervisor who can't be asked to leave his very nice warm site cabin, but you're now taking them from clients as well. And they are literally analysing the data that you're looking at the same time. How quickly after that phone call can you get your mind back on your actual job, the one you're being paid for, the focus that is required? How easy is it to shake off all of that? That was my thought for the day anyway. If anybody's got any more thoughts on that. For some reason, my LinkedIn is blinking away. Has that got anything to do with any of what I'm doing here? No, it's not. It's not. I'm going to follow up on that a bit later on. If anybody's got anything else they would like to add on all of that, please let me know. I will remind you very quickly, we have launched a brand spanking new LinkedIn newsletter. If you're over on LinkedIn and you follow me, you'll be able to see it. It's called Future Fuels, and it's going to be, rather than trying to report on all of the equipment and all of the stuff, all we're going to report on in there is new equipment and new changes. I'm working on a piece at the moment about the possibility of, or the likelihood of, hydrogen arriving in a timely fashion here in the UK. As I say, I'm working on that at the moment. That will be probably a week away or so. But we've already got the first article out. There's another one scheduled for Wednesday as well. So Monday next week, there'll be another one. So if you'd like to sign up for that, please do so. I have to admit, we are putting a bit more into LinkedIn at the moment. Partly because of the makeup of the audience over there. 4 out of 5 of everybody that's on, 4 out of 5 people on LinkedIn are decision makers. So obviously, we want to please those decision makers because they might ultimately pay us for some advertising, which would be good. But yeah, we're doing a bit more on LinkedIn. So if you're not already following us, please do so. Dan Cullen says, sorry, coverage is FKD'd. Yes, we know what that means, Dan. Not a problem at all. As I say, watch on catch up. If you've got anything more to add on the plate spinning of the average operator, all the tasks that you need to take care of, please let us know in the chat. Jim Turner says it's horses for courses. Those that can't hack it shouldn't do it. Most of my work is done on autopilot as it is just easy. Easy. This is that thing, isn't it? I can never remember the exact idea of the story, but a fitter comes along and charges £100 for mending a machine, and all he did was hit it with a sledgehammer. And apparently the cost of the bill is it's £1 for hitting the machine with the sledgehammer, but £99 for knowing precisely where to hit it. You have built up that that knowledge to the point where you are on autopilot. But the very fact that you're here to tell the story, you're only kind of on autopilot, because if you were fully on autopilot, you'd be knocking people and machines over all about the place. So I know what you're saying, but I wouldn't necessarily agree you're fully on autopilot. And also think about this. Let's take excavators again, because that's what we were talking about. If you're an excavator operator, you're only productive, really and truly, you're only productive when your bum is in the seat and the levers are in your hands. If you have to let go of those levers to take a phone call, if you have to get out of your cab to go and administer first aid or mental health first aid to one of your co-workers, you just cease to be productive. Does that make any sense to anyone? Please let me know. Anywho, people, that will do us for today. Happy Monday, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow for more of the same. Bright-eyed, bushy tail. 10 o'clock tomorrow morning for the breakfast show. If you can be here, I'd love to see you. If you can't, I'll see you again very soon. Till then, everybody have a fantastic day. Do try to stay warm. It does feel a little bit warmer out there today, although I don't think the bikini's coming out anytime soon. So stay warm, stay safe. See you tomorrow. All the best.